Really quick, everybody, this entire video will be timestamped, so if you don't want to watch whole thing and just get straight into a different fight, please check the pinned comment or the chapter bar down below you. Again, this entire video will be timestamped, and I'd appreciate you guys watching whatever part you like. If you're sticking around, guys, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I am your guy with too many YouTube channels, and welcome back to another full card breakdown and prediction video, this time for UFC 290 Volkanovski versus Rodríguez. This card is stacked. So hear what I have to say about the fights. I'd love to know what you guys think afterwards down below. If you want to skip fights, like I said, timestamps are there if you'd like to use them. Let's get into the first fight for today. Starting off with the first fight, guys, I'm very happy that we're going to finally see Tatsuro Taira fight because I was looking forward to his fight last weekend. If you guys didn't know, the fight got canceled last minute because his opponent missed weight. So something to take into consideration with the pick here. First off, I believe Tatsuro Taira is a better fighter. He's probably going to be better everywhere. Edgar Chairez is coming into the UFC with his first fight, an okay record, but he has looked very good from what I have seen. Tatsuro Taira, though, very hyped up for a reason. Something like I was just about to say, something that we do need to take into consideration is this dude was just going through a weight cut a week ago. How much is that going to really factor into a problem here? We don't know. There's a lot of unknown here, and that's going to be one of the reasons why I'm staying away from the betting on this fight. However, in saying that, I do think that Taira is the better fighter. He's hyped up for a reason. 13-0, steamrolling people so far. He has been looking really, really good, and I like this matchup a lot better than what he had last week. I was like, oh, you know what? He could lose. He could lose last week, but this time, I'm pretty confident picking him against Edgar Chairez, but I do believe that Tatsuro Taira might have some issues with the weight coming into this, so that's why I'm staying away from this, but my pick is going to be Taira. Moving on to the next fight, we have the return of Saaiman. He's taking on a newcomer in Terrence Mitchell. Now, Terrence Mitchell, this is his first fight in the UFC. We have another debut here, but here's the issue. He's looked very, very good, but he's lacking any experience in anybody. Like, at least like some guys, we come into the UFC and I'm like, oh, you know what? He's looked very good. You know, he's fought this guy. He's fought that guy. Terrence Mitchell, he's coming in with a good record and very good performances, but we just question if he's UFC caliber, if he's ready for the UFC. Saaiman, on the other hand, has come into the UFC, has been steamrolling people. His striking has looked fantastic so far. I'm actually very confident that Saaiman's going to win. I'm not overly hyped up about Terrence Mitchell. Nothing that I've seen from him is screaming out to me going, hey, you know what? He can win this fight. He can look really good. Saaiman, however, his striking game is very precise, very good. He's very young. He's only getting better. The only problem is you got to worry about Saaiman with the eye pokes and the nut shots. Saaiman could end up fouling Terrence Mitchell a few times. So if there's really close rounds there and then Saaiman ends up getting a point taken away, that could potentially lead to some issues. However, I think Saaiman will piece him up. Terrence Mitchell is on the feet. He's not looking like he's the best fighter ever on the feet. Saaiman has all the hype behind him. He has looked great in the UFC so far, coming in off a fantastic win against Manny Martinez. Looked great against Steven Koslow too, and then his Contender Series. Everything we've seen from Saaiman has looked good. I'm very high on this guy. His striking skill set is fantastic. I will be betting on this fight, and I'm going to be going on the side of Saaiman. Moving on to the next fight, guys, I'm quite excited for this one. With just 4 months ago, I think it was 4 months ago. Yeah, just 4 months ago, we have seen Crute versus Alonzo Menifield. Now, the fight ended in a draw, but Alonzo Menifield was doing the better work. He was piecing him up. He was looking great, but the problem was Crute had a little bit of a comeback. Plus, there was a point deduction on the side of Alonzo Menifield. So the fight ended up being a draw, but Alonzo Menifield did win the fight. I don't have too much to say about this fight, guys. I believe that Alonzo Menifield will continue what he was doing the first time, almost finishing Crute, looking great on the feet. Crute, his striking is a little bit sloppy for Alonzo Menifield, more on the power side. Now, the only worry I do have is Crute is one of those guys who just is really, really hard to put away. There could always be a win on the side of Crute in that sense. However, I think this fight's going to play out just like the last one. Alonzo Menifield, just don't grab the cage. You got it in the bag. My pick's Alonzo Menifield on this one. I don't have too much to say about it. Moving on to the next fight, we have Vitor Petrino versus Marcin Prachnio. Now, this fight, guys, I don't really know what to think about it because I feel like this fight is going to play out on the feet. The question is, who's going to win on the feet? Petrino certainly has the power advantage. He's been looking very good since he came to the UFC. He's been very active. I believe it's been 2 fights now. Yes, been 2 fights. Very active. He's looked good in both those fights. However, while Marcin Prachnio has had a little bit of a rocky road against opponents where it's like, it's tough to say. It's tough to say because the opponents that he's beaten and lost to, they don't exactly age too well, but Prachnio definitely has that UFC experience, and he's not a bad fighter at all. He's not a bad fighter one bit. His record, I wouldn't say like his record really speaks for himself in 16-6. It's a tough one, man. I don't know what to pick. I can see Petrino landing and knocking him out, but I can also see Prachnio just kind of picking him apart, maybe even finding a finish of his own. This is a fight that I would stay away from if you were betting. It's tough because Petrino could just come into the UFC. He could be one of those hype trains because he hasn't taken on the guys that Prachnio has taken on yet. However, he's looked really good. Very tough fight to pick. 25 versus 34. We got a reach advantage for Petrino too. I'm going to side with Victor Petrino, but I'm not confident in this fight at all. Moving on to the next fight, we have Kamuela Kirk versus Esteban Ribovics. Now, this fight's a little bit interesting too. It's one of those fights, like I said, like there's a few of them that are really tough to pick on this card. The problem is when you have somebody that fights the way Esteban does, and both of them are coming off a loss, but still they didn't really necessarily look too bad in their loss, and this loss aged okay, but the problem is Esteban's one of those fighters who comes in, rushes forward, and really blitzes at you, but it's like one of those calculated chaos type fighters where he's very good technique, but still, it's pressure, aggression. The possibility to get clipped, especially with the momentum coming into a shot, I could see a world where Kirk lands on him and knocks him out. However, if that doesn't happen, I feel like Esteban's just going to steamroll him. He can take the fight anywhere. He'll be the one dictating the pace. He usually is the one dictating the pace. Tough fight. Kirk is absolutely no slouch either. But I will have to pick Esteban in this fight. And also something that I didn't mention is Kirk is typically a 145-pounder. This fight is taking place at lightweight. So will he look better? Will he be stronger? How's the weight cut going to look? There's a lot of questions coming into Kirk's side right now. I'm going to side with Esteban to win this fight. I think the aggression will take control. He'll be able to make the fight wherever he wants it to. And he's going to get the win. I'm kind of like 75% on Esteban in this one. Staying away from betting on this one, that's for sure. Moving on to the next fight, we have Yazmin Jauregui versus Denise Gomes or Gomes. I apologize, I never remember which one to pronounce. I just go with D. Anyways, Gomes is coming off of a fantastic win in which I was completely counting her out, especially because after this performance here, she beat Bruna Brazil, and there was a lot of hype on Bruna Brazil, and she kind of like steamrolled through her. I'm kind of liking the momentum that Gomes is on, even though it's only one fight. However, Yazmin, coming to the UFC, has looked very, very solid so far. Very nice stand-up fighter. Is one of those female fighters that we don't see a lot with power. But on the other side, Gomes also kind of has that. I feel like Yazmin will be the better technical fighter. This fight should be standing up unless Gomes just kind of wants to throw her to the ground. I do like the strength and the power of Denise Gomes in this fight. I like the momentum. I like the destruction she just put on Bruna Brazil. I'm going to continue with that momentum. I'm going to pick Denise Gomes in this fight. However, Yazmin is also a very dangerous prospect coming into the strawweight division. Should be a good fight. I'm going to pick Gomes, though. Moving on to the next fight, we have Shannon Ross versus Jesus Aguilar. And I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Jesus or Jesus. I apologize. I don't recall, guys. But anyways, Shannon Ross has had a little bit of a rough go as of late, coming off of 2 losses, and he looked absolutely horrible in those losses. He was very tough and fought out through those. One of those weird fighters who came into the UFC of a loss of the Contender Series. I guess they really liked him. But anyways, Aguilar has looked very good. Very strong submissions. It's okay striking, but obviously the submissions is where this dude shines. He's coming off of a loss to Tatsuro Taira in the sense where he's lost to somebody who some people are holding like so highly in regard. People think this dude could be the possible future. I think there's absolutely no shame in losing to Tatsuro Taira because I'm kind of on the hype train too. Not like he's going to be championship material yet. I'll need to see more. But anyways, we're not talking about Tatsuro Taira. We're talking about Aguilar. So Aguilar, there's no shame in losing to that. But before that, looked great. Looked absolutely fantastic coming to the UFC. Nice, a lot of submission wins. But Shannon Ross, unfortunately, he's been getting by on his toughness. 13-7. The record speaks for itself. 34 years old. I'm very confident Aguilar taking this fight. I don't see anything that Ross can do to really bring any danger unless Aguilar keeps trying to finish him and Ross just toughs it out and then ends up getting the upper hand. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to pick Jesus Aguilar to win this fight, and I'm fairly confident in saying so. Now, moving on to the next fight, we have Robbie Lawler taking on Niko Price. This is going to be heartbreaking, guys, because this is the final fight of Robbie Lawler's career. And unfortunately, guys, Robbie Lawler is no longer the same fighter that he once was. If this was a long time ago, I'd be all over Robbie Lawler, but he's 41 years old. The age has absolutely caught up to him. He does not look like the same guy one little bit. He can't take the same shot. He's fighting at a very, very slow pace. And while Niko Price is a very hit or miss fighter, like he's coming off of a tough loss to Real Rowe. Before that, he beat Alex Oliveira. He's been very spotty in his career, Niko Price. He's always been kind of in there in his fights, but he's never really excelled too much. He's had like the upkick knockout. That's really everything that we can look forward to with Niko Price. But Niko Price, I like him a lot. He's an okay fighter. He can definitely hang with the guys, but he always tends to come up short. However, this is a problem because Like I said, if this was an old Robbie Lawler, I'd be all over Robbie Lawler, but I think Nico Price is going to piece Robbie Lawler up. I don't think Robbie Lawler has it anymore. Very tough loss to Brian Barberena. Nick Diaz looked worse than Robbie Lawler somehow. Nick Diaz quit in the octagon, and even then, Robbie Lawler didn't look that good. Neil Magny lost. Colby Covington lost. Ben Askren lost. Like, he hasn't looked good except for that Ben Askren loss, which that was a little bit dicey, but at the end of the day, I thought that was a proper stoppage. Robbie Lawler doesn't have it anymore, guys, and it hurts to say because I'm a big Robbie Lawler fan. I'm going with Nico Price. Very confident in saying so. Moving on to the next fight, we finally get to see Dan Hooker versus Jalen Turner. Guys, I was looking forward to this fight. I was looking forward to this fight for a very long time. But I wasn't looking forward to it at the same time because I think Jalen Turner is going to destroy Dan Hooker. I like Dan Hooker, man, but Jalen Turner, he's just looked too good. He's looked too good. Short notice fight against Gamrot. Tough loss. There is absolutely no shame in losing to Mateusz Gamrot. I thought Gamrot won the fight pretty clearly, but it was a split decision loss. Before that, Jalen Turner has looked so good. So good, so accurate, powerful. It's going to be a stand-up fight, and Jalen Turner is going to completely, surprisingly, they have the same reach, but I think Jalen Turner is going to use that range 100%. Dan Hooker seems to have lost a step, even in this performance. It's just he won by, like, avoiding butt scoots. You know what I mean? I mean, absolutely no disrespect to Claudio, but still, like, that wasn't a good performance, and you can't really say, oh, you know what, Dan looked so good in that fight. He was just staying out of danger and picking him apart. It's tough, man. Before that, Arnold Allen lost, Islam Makhachev lost. I understand that Dan Hooker has fought amazing guys. He's better than his record. But I think the loss to Dustin Poirier, oh, that wasn't even the last little bit, excuse me. The loss to Dustin Poirier took like his soul. A lot of people have been saying that, and I'm kind of on the train with that. Dan Hooker is not the same guy that he once was, kind of like Robbie Lawler, which is sad because he still is only 33 years old. But Jalen Turner, coming into his prime, looking good. I feel like he's just going to steamroll past Dan Hooker. I got Jalen Turner to win this fight. Very confident in saying so. Moving on to the next fight, we have Robert Whittaker, one of my favorite fighters of all time. He's taking on Dricus du Plessis. Now, Robert Whittaker, guys, this would be one of the biggest upsets of all time if Robert Whittaker lost this fight. For some reason, I don't know why. Robert Whittaker's better everywhere. He's a better wrestler, BJJ, striking, Muay Thai, whatever you want to say, Robert Whittaker is better, okay? Something in my gut is telling me that Dricus just might pull it off. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense, but remember this. Remember me saying this. If Dricus does happen to pull it off, plus you have that whole mythical fighter debate because Dricus du Plessis has had a gas tank issue in the past, but he also had a deviated septum. He just got that fixed, so people are saying, you know what, new mythical fighter, Dricus du Plessis that can breathe. You never know. It's tough, okay? He's coming off. He has a great record of 19-2, but like he beat Derek Brunson, and that was Derek Brunson who's like has nothing left in the tank. Darren Till, he looked horrible in that fight. Besides, like at the beginning of the fight, he almost finished him, but still, if there was anybody other than Darren Till in there, he would have beat Dricus du Plessis on that night. But before that, he's looked pretty good coming to the UFC. He's a good fighter. He's just not at the level that Robert Whittaker's at. Robert Whittaker should win this fight. Robert Whittaker should pick him apart. Robert Whittaker should do whatever he wants to do to Dricus du Plessis. I don't know why my gut is telling me to not bet on this fight. My brain's telling me one thing, my gut's telling me something else. I don't know why, man. I don't know why. But Robert Whittaker is going to be the pick here. I'm confident in saying so. Should get the next shot against Israel Adesanya. But keep in mind, though, if this goes to a decision, the judges might swerve towards the side of du Plessis, and we can see we can see a robbery here because Dricus is a fresh matchup for the champion, and that could sell quite a bit. That's the only thing to consider. But Robert Whittaker should do what he wants. Should do whatever he wants in here. Very confident picking Robert Whittaker to win this fight. Moving on to the next fight, guys. I have no idea what to think about this fight. Bo Nickel versus Tresean Gore. The biggest thing is, guys, I don't think we've seen enough of either of these guys. You have a 4-0 guy versus a 4-2 guy. Tresean Gore, obviously, we have seen more of MMA experience. He came into the UFC looking like he was going to be something quite promising, but then he lost to Brian Battle, and Brian Battle is a loss that ages very well, but then he also lost to Cody Brundage, and a loss that doesn't age well one little bit. Then he came back and got a fantastic win against Josh Fremd. Looked great. So I don't know what to think of Tresean Gore yet. Is he great? Is he not? I don't know. But the same thing I'm saying about Bo Nickel. Bo Nickel was all the hype, you know what I mean? Coming into the Contender Series, steamrolled the guy, but then he got his first fight in the UFC against Jamie Pickett. He was having trouble getting the takedown, and he needed to, I'm not saying he did it on purpose, but I'm saying The reason he got his takedown was because he got a nut shot, and the ref didn't see it. And even then, with his opponent hurt with the nut shot, he couldn't finish his submission. I don't know what to think. I am not convinced of this guy yet. Yes, he could be great. He could be fantastic. I'm just not on the Bo Nickel train yet. I'm not ready to say that he's going to win. We don't know what it's going to be like when he fights somebody who can really, really stuff his takedowns. What happens if he gets into a striking match? Tresean Gore certainly has fought some pretty good guys. I don't know what to think. I completely think this is a 50-50 fight. I don't know what the odds are yet, but I know a lot of people are probably on the Bo Nickel side. Tresean Gore is a very, very live, probably dog in this fight. 50-50 fight. If you had a gun to my head, I'd say Bo Nickel, but I don't know. Moving on to the next fight, we have Brandon Moreno versus Alejandro Pantoja, the third fight. If you guys don't know, which I would imagine if you're a hardcore fan watching this channel, you do know Pantoja has 2 wins over the champion Brandon Moreno. However, that was years ago, and Brandon Moreno, since then, back in the UFC, a significantly improved fighter. I think looking at those 2 matchups, like the last 2 fights, is pretty much pointless. The only thing that I would take into consideration in this fight is that Pantoja could have a mental edge over Brandon Moreno. We don't know how Brandon Moreno is going to approach this fight. Is he going to be motivated like Israel Adesanya and get a nice knockout? You know what I mean? Is he going to be motivated and train even harder, try to get the win? Like I said, train harder than he ever has been more motivated than ever to beat Pantoja? Or is he going to go in there and be like, this guy beat me 3 times. I can't lose again. I can't lose again. I can't lose again. He can come over there and look very tense. That's why I'm having a problem with judging how this fight's going to go. Brandon Moreno, obviously a champion. He's looked fantastic in his last 2 outings against Deiveson Figueiredo. But the problem, Deiveson Figueiredo and Kai Kara-France. But before that, he's looked fantastic against Deiveson Figueiredo, even in both fights. Okay? Both fights, you could even argue, a lot of people think that he did win this fight. I thought Kai Kara-France was going to beat him. Brandon Moreno ended up just completely dispatching him. Well, he did have a little bit of a rough patch in that fight. He still overcame adversity, won the fight, looked great, but then looked even better against Deiveson Figueiredo. He looked fantastic in that fight. He is an ever-improved fighter. Alejandro Pantoja, though, his wins have aged very well, and he's beating these guys. He has looked very, very good. A lot of people have been talking about this guy getting a title for a very long time. His only loss coming to Askar Askarov. Absolutely no shame in losing that fight. Askar Askarov is absolutely fantastic. But this guy, man, he's really good. There's a reason he beat Brandon Moreno twice. I just don't know. I kind of on the side right now that Brandon Moreno is a little unstoppable. I don't know, because even this loss here, you could say like he could have won this fight. I'd have to rewatch it. I don't remember exactly who I thought won that fight. I think I was leaning towards the side of Figueiredo. But man, Brandon Moreno has looked so good. He seems to just get the one up on everybody. Assuming that he's okay mentally, I'm going to pick Brandon Moreno to win. I'm kind of like 70-30 on this one. Pantoja could very well take the win here. He's a great fighter. He beat Moreno twice. But I think Moreno will just be a little bit better everywhere. I'm picking Brandon Moreno to win this fight. All right, guys, main event time. Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodríguez. I am very, very excited for this fight. Alexander Volkanovski coming in as the reigning and defending lightweight champion. I don't care what anybody says. He won that fight. That is ridiculous. He should be the double champion right now. He put a beating on Islam Makhachev. So I'm coming in. This dude is on an insane win streak. Looking good. Guys, here's the thing. Okay, and Yair, he's looked great in these last 2 fights. He was even stopping Brian Ortega, even though that was really quick. He's looked great, and he even looked great against Max Holloway. He's a great fighter with dangerous, dangerous kickboxing. I can't not pick Volkanovski. He just looks better and better every single time we see him. He just destroyed Islam Makhachev. I understand it was a close fight, but he put a beating on Islam Makhachev. Up a division. The only problem is, we've seen Volkanovski have trouble before. Yair Rodríguez is the most dangerous fighter he has ever fought. I see a world where Yair Rodríguez lands a head kick, Volkanovski ends up being in trouble, but I feel like Volkanovski would just fight out of any adversity that could come his way. He just beat Islam Makhachev. The only other thing is he's 34 years old. He's getting up there. We're eventually going to see him slow down. I don't think that fight is right now, though. Yair could win this fight. Again, he is the most dangerous fighter that Alexander Volkanovski has ever faced. I can't pick against Volkanovski, though. He's just destroying everybody. He's having fights that just aren't even close. His boxing's great. If he wants to take him down, he can take him down. I think Volkanovski will be better, stronger. How's the reach? Volkanovski surprisingly has a reach advantage. It's crazy to me. This dude has some long arms. You know what I mean? Top fight. I can't just rationalize picking against Volkanovski here. But I also acknowledge how dangerous Yair Rodríguez is. Do you guys understand what I'm saying here? It's a very tough fight to pick. But everything in my being is just saying go Volkanovski. I don't know if I want to bet on this one, though. He's going to get upset one of these days. His age is going to show one of these days. The thing is, he's not even taking like a ton of damage in his fights. He's looking great. I'm sure this dude's motivated. I'm sure he wants to get back at Islam Makhachev because if Makhachev wins and Volkanovski wins this fight, they're going to do a rematch at lightweight. So Volkanovski probably wants that, and that's probably something else that he's looking forward to. I got to go with Volkanovski on this one. What can Yair Rodríguez do? His kicks are there. His kicks will be very live, very hard. He could always catch somebody with the kicks. But I feel like if Volkanovski gets caught, he's just going to fight through whatever the problem is. That's how I see that fight going. You know what I mean? And even like Josh Emmett had Yair in a little bit of trouble in their fight. Volkanovski won't let up. Yeah, I'm picking Volkanovski. Why am I doubting myself here? I'm picking Volkanovski to win this fight. But guys, that is going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming. What do you think about my picks? Let me know what yours are down below. If you have time, write down your full card predictions. I would love to read and talk about it there, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. On the screen right now, if you'd like to watch the Clenbat channel, keep watching the Clenbat channel. There'll be 2 videos on screen right now for you to check out. They're pretty great, guys. I will see you there or in the next video. Take care.